Hey, hi guys. Okay, so I'm back here. It's Thursday the 25th, and next, well, you guys saw the polling here. Next up, one we haven't looked at much. This is a 10-year bond note. Now you can trade this a couple of different ways. You can use a CFD with a FX broker. I've got the futures contract here because I think this is this is what I would use for technical analysis. Now, if I'm trading in here. When I was a broker, a lot of bond trading, and I would tell you that in my experience, well, one, it's a difficult market to trade, right? A lot of volatility. It's hypersensitive to the latest fart from a Fed member. It's last report, it's just hyper sensitive. So in my experience, you really want to stay longer term here. I don't like to trade it without a hedge, and I find just from experience, the Elliott counts in here are less reliable. So while, sure, we can get an Elliott count on it, that's not how I approach it. I will use the algo pulls right in those targets and then market geometry. I prefer that if I'm trading bonds. And I'll show you why. So first, just looking at that right here, do you see an obvious Elliott count? Well, you can see there's a whole lot of ABCs. Right? So this we get this ABC here. Let's see if I can click that off, and then we get another. Well, it looks primarily like we've got another three-wave here. So you get a lot of that kind of thing, and then you get another essentially an ABC here. All right, so now we do know that the algorithms like those alternating pivots here, that ABC level, and I'll show you how that plays out. The other thing that you'll find here is that it could be that the algorithm has been tweaked a bit in here because you'll see more sloppy breaks, slight breaks around the 65. And then often they'll go to target to the tick. So yeah, sure, there are some spot on, just perfect algo plays in here. I'll show you a few. But you got to be careful about it. The other thing that you'll find is that with alternating extensions, the 1272, you'll find in here all over the place, right? Again, bond traders, right? They think they're the smartest people in the room always. But these are just observations from having worked with clients that were trading this for many years and when I was a broker, and then having traded it myself. It's expensive to trade, right? Tick value is high. So you got to be careful in here. Now, that said, now I've got a 3-day, this is the 10-year futures contract, just a continuous contract here. So I think this is, if you're analyzing, I'd use this over the CFD. Now, so getting started here, let me just show you a couple of things, right? Right off the bat here. So this is everything I can get on TradingView. So I'm just wicking off my first low here. Okay, so what's the very first thing we see here? Right, so as much like I went on a rant on the last video I just did, right? The underlying asset doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Right, here's a perfect algo to the tick, right? So it's a 1 tick front run on the golden zone, and then it's a 1 tick front run on the target, right? It's 1 tick, right? It's just barely enough. Right, so we know it's technical, right? Not much question about that. So if I were to keep that going, now look here. Okay, so you get here and you get a very slight break here, but look ultimately where this goes. Right, so we get the slight break here, boom, reaction. So this, when I see that, the first thing when I see a slight break like that, it makes me wonder that perhaps there's another algo that was trying to get filled there. All right, so remember, just so when I get the chance to do this, I want to show you guys this pattern here, right? It's that retracement right here, right after the ABC kind of thing. It's that retracement right there. That's one that we know that they like. So when I see that it's broken here by just a couple of ticks, makes me want to go check and see, was that just another algo fighting to get a fill? So if I take this down here, get right on it. Okay, do you see what happens here? So let me take this one off. Right, so now you can see it. So here's our in between the 50 and the 618. We know that's where they like it. So from here down just enough to get the fill. Right, so that kind of precision, guys, I promise you, only software can do that. Right, so you just can't make this shit up. So look at that. Right, so why the break? So here it's to the tick at the 65. Up, now there's a slight break. Why? Right, that's always the question. Why? Why does it stop there? Why does it pivot there? Why does it break? Right, there's why. Right, we can see where it goes. So you got to just, this is, bonds are not something to trade every now and then, right? If you're going to be a bond trader, you want to really focus on how the bonds move, what kind of volatility you can expect. It's more of a specialist market, I would tell you. Right? You got to be careful in here. Like, very expensive if you're on the wrong side of a trade. So if I'm trading it, I'm always hedging. So, what kind of account here do we have here? Again, I don't think you want to tee up an Elliott count as your primary focus here. Now, if it's something that's just staring you in the face and you fucking can't miss it, right? So I'm not saying ignore it. I'm just saying approach with caution. Now, market geometry, fantastic in here, right? So from the low here, again, just basic stuff. We know that it's a technical pivot. So we do get a corner pocket here, right? So it doesn't quite make it there, but no problem. We get it there, and look at this, right? To the tick, right there. So maybe you put some of that together and we look here. So from this low, well, was it here? Well, there's the 50, got that one. There's their secondary target. Here, if I get right on it, okay, do you see what we have here? So we have, not only do you get the corner pocket, but off of this, right? So you hit it here, but then we get the secondary here. You see this? From the golden zone. See, it's a couple of ticks into. It's always just barely into the golden zone. What do we get? Right there. All right, now that's a long ass trade. How long are you in that? From June of 09 to August of 12. Right? It's a 3-year trade. Now, do you think that is coincidence, that that's where it pivots right there at that algo target and the median line? I promise you it's not. So, okay, there we go. So that we got that all teed up there. All right, we're going to get to the heart right edge, right? So, but if you're going to trade in here, understand how it trades. All right, so that's done, right, to the tick, right? So now we come, looks like an ABC. So immediately when we see 3 pivots like that, what's the first thing we're going to do? Right, first thing, right? How's it trading? What's the median line look like? Right? What, shit, 1, 2, 3. You think that median line's in play? Okay, let me get it right on there. Okay, so this high. So we do get a corner pocket here. Right? It's as long as let me get right on there. As long as those 3 pivots hold. Right? That's always the condition. As long as those 3 pivots hold. Now, you wouldn't have known. You might have thought it was here, here, here. Once you get the pivot, though, there's the first. That's the realization of the 80% there. Bounces away, back. Bounces away, back. Now we're reacting. So where are we in that? Well, so I would look at a couple of things to see how technical we were here. Get right on that. So possibly, right? It looks like that's a front run on the target. That would be there. So they're tagging the target here. So it looks like that's a slight front run on the 50. Could be, right? Always look left. Could be something over here, right? Just some structure. I'm gonna get it right on there. Some structure. You see, it's to the tick. Some structure keeps that, right? Prior resistance. So here's resistance. Here it's support. Comes back into play. That's why it's good to wick these things off, right? They have a way of coming back into play in the market, right? So is that the reason, or is it just a front run? Is it that structure? Well, we're never going to know, right? As to why they sell there, but we can track the footprint, right? So you go, it goes a little beyond the negative 23.6. Why? Right? That's always why. There's no random pivots in here. Okay, so what do we have here now? That's a bit, are they using that? That's a bit far for the front run. Let me get this. Maybe they're down 1. Hard to know. It's too much for this. So I would probably leave it here. Oh, this is another thing I wanted to show you. Remember, 1272. Often you're going to find that in the market, in the bond market. All right, 272 to the tick. There was one over here, I think, as well. Just observation, right? So guys, I've traded this for a long time. You just, come here, you fucker. It's just, these are tendencies that you'll find in the market. So this one doesn't quite, maybe it was this one. There's 1272 here. Yeah, there it was. I think that was it. This one gets 100. Shit, I can't remember where it was. Maybe it was this one. One of these had a 1272. Shit, now I can't find it. It was could have been this one. I had it teed up here to show you guys, but then I always get it there it is. Well, let's get it right over so you can see. Right, so there's the big one, right? So look how technical this is, right? Do you think they're using alternating fibs. So here's the 100, here's the 1272. Do you think that's random? Put the thing back together. Right, one place where I can promise you there are no random pivots is in the bond market. Okay, so here's enough confluence there for you, and then we had, all right, so put the whole thing back together, right? So you get this little confluence target up here, right? And that's been the high, right? So that shit does not happen randomly. Trust me on that. Okay, so then we're back to the upper edge of the parallel, and then down we go, and looks like we're in a sequence here. So this looks more, let me clear up. Oh shit, let's clear everything off. Let's remove all drawing. Okay, so this, now I've got a little ABC here. So this, remember, they like that alternating pivot. So it's a little far for a front run. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little more juice in this. So you've, let's just out of curiosity here. So we looked at this. We're not to the 100 here. You know, it's a little questionable, right? So why do we stop there, right? So is it perhaps prior support kicking in? Hard to know. So we look here. So I just start grabbing pivots, going why does it stop there? Why? There's a reason. Back here, I don't think so. So I'd use dominant. So we'd have to go all the way back. Could it be that it's all the way back to the low? I'm not sure, right? So we're in between. I'm a little suspect of that pivot, and I would be tracking both of these here. So this is kind of interesting here. So here we get the 100%. Right, it's commonly you'll find this relationship. So note that's right in the golden zone. Here's the 100 down here. So if this is going to come back down here, this is an area where I'd be watching. So this is the kind of thing I would alert. So if we're going to come down and approach that 100 and that golden zone, I want to know about it. And then I'm going to, depending on where this pivot comes in, so you don't quite have the structure for a new set of median lines just yet. These still seem to be in play. So until we break outside of this, so if we were to get something come up here and maybe look at that golden zone here, then you start looking at these kind of targets. But right now I'm a little suspect of that pivot. I took the let's go down to the daily here. All right, note all of that was on the 3-day. So if I bring this back together, that's far for a front run. So it makes me a little suspect of that. So my guess is there would be likely there's another push up here to get towards that 50 where we know there'll be software. Now note here, I mean this is a big, that's a 2-point spread here on a daily chart. I mean that's a good size amount of risk. So I'd be careful in here, but in terms of risk control here, because these are expensive, right? So you got to be careful about this in here. This, I think you could trade it here, but I wouldn't give it that much range unless I was in some sort of an option spread. So I'd be careful on that. But I think there's a reasonable, doesn't look like there's any algo at play here. There's no retracement that's deep enough. So I'd be watching for, so I would alert this 50 because this kind of a move from here to come back into the edge of the median line here, that would be worth looking at, right, for potentially now one more move down here. So is there an Elliott count? Well, we've already overlapped here, so is that ABC? Again, I don't try and fit an Elliott count as a condition to take a trade here because it's just unreliable. I've found it to be unreliable in the bond market as in terms of forecasting, and the wave counts are a little sloppy. So I would be watching for that moment right there. Now, if we get up there, you might bring in some oscillators here. Do we have, so note here when we were here, the RSI got fairly pinned. You can see the buying interest drying up. Not a lot of divergence here, but some. I'd rather see a little bit stronger case for divergence here if we're going to come up to that edge. Now note where that target is, right? So if that's going to come down here, that's looking for this target. Right, so put the whole thing together potentially now. So there's the pivot. If I can get a good 50 here, because I know I don't have to wonder about it. I know software will be there, right at that corner, but I wouldn't give it the full range here. I would just, maybe half the distance here. I'd rather take the smaller loser, and then if it's going to go up here to the golden zone, reevaluate whether or not no, target doesn't change, of course, right? Target doesn't change, but do I like it enough here at the golden zone to take that trade? Is there some other structure here? And then, of course, we could put together the next series for you'd have potential golden corner there with this as your target. So potentially now a little, you might. So here's where trading in the CFDs could be helpful. So you don't have to take such a big position. Maybe portion of your position at the 50, hold some in reserve for a turn at the golden zone. Targets down here. All right, guys, there you go. That's how I would approach that. Okay, back to you with one more.